All right, I believe we are recording. Hello, everybody. Dennis Harrigan, one of the founders and partner here at Connecticut Wealth Management. And my partner in crime, Kevin Leahy, is not with us today. He is actually relaxing and on vacation that he much deserves. But we have a really, really great guest today. We have Tom Moore, who is the superintendent of schools in West Hartford. We are both in this crazy COVID-19 world. We are also dealing with, yesterday was the day with the wild windstorms. So Tom's been running around West Hartford trying to find an internet connection and some power, and I am in the office today. So a little bit of a weird setup, but Tom, I know you have nothing going on these days and there's so much downtime. I so appreciate you taking 15 minutes here with us to chat a little bit about what you guys are doing. So thanks and welcome.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me. Yep, living the dream right now, just what I've always wanted to do.
Just how you drew it up, right?
Why I became a history teacher.
Well, we're making history. In a weird way, I've been saying to people that it's kind of cool that in 20 years, we're all going to look back at this and say, do you remember how crazy that was?
Yep.
So let me ask the first question that I know that you've been busy giving speeches and interviews and writing over the past week or so. Generally, what's the plan for instruction this fall in West Hartford? What are you guys going to do?
Well, I think, it's been a really difficult trying to balance between what we all want is we all want all students back as soon as possible. I want them all in right away. And that is our hope. But just because I want something to be true doesn't mean that's immediately the best way to go about doing it. So we're going to start the year in our hybrid plan, which in West Hartford, and the truth is, I think most districts will start the year in this plan. And that means in West Hartford, week A, half the kids come in, and then and week B, the other half come in. And during the afternoon of both sessions, the kids that are on the not in, they'll be online virtually with their teachers at that point. Now, the goal is to transition in, to start smoothly, and to get it so that we can see the situation on the ground is good. This hasn't created a dramatic spike. And then we can move into October making decisions about everybody can come back. And that, I would say, we'd probably stagger to the younger kids coming in as soon as possible. And when you communicate that out, one of the difficulties is that people panic and think, well, everybody needs to be in right away. And people want a definitive date. And that's the thing, the flexibility that's necessary with COVID, when people need to know things to plan their lives, is just the most difficult part of this, is that I want to be successful with our reopening. There are certainly concerns that we have that make it very difficult for me to look at somebody and make any promises to them. Right. I think we can plan that in the 2020-2021 school year. The expectation driven forward to me by many is that at some point we'll be in full education with all kids. At some points we'll be in hybrid, and at some points we'll be virtual. That's my expectation for this school year.
Well, those are the three options. Yeah,
exactly.
You don't have any control over really the environment and what everything's going to look like. And so much is unfolding every single day. The initial plan is to kind of have like an A and a B team, it sounds like? Where an A team will be in for the week?
Yep. So a first grade teacher has a class of 23, say, or 22. 11 of the kids come in the first week, 11 of the kids come in the second week, and they come in every day. We chose that. A lot of districts are doing it every other day, and there's an attraction to that too. The people I spoke to for employment purposes felt like it was better to know I have a full week, that this is where I'm going to be at work. And then this week, I'm going to have to make accommodations as opposed to doing it by day. But as soon as I say that works for some people, I can bring you the evidence of many that it doesn't work for.
Yeah, I know. Well, we were talking at the beginning that you have 9,300 students.
Yep.
And that is a lot of parents who have uh, feelings and opinions. You have 1,500 teachers,
Yeah.
and trying to make
Staff overall, it's about 900 or so teachers, but 1,500 includes paras, tutors, custodial, all that stuff.
so you have a big constituency with different risk tolerances and risk profiles, and
Yeah,
it's hard to make a single decision that's going to appease everybody. I'm sure
exactly.
that's been a challenge. Um, One of the things that I find interesting, and it's got to be a huge challenge, is how do you deal with this from a budgeting perspective? Because I'm sure you're having to install different plexiglass devices in different places, and the cleaning process, and transportation. What has this done? Not to bum you out, but what has this done to the budget, and how do you resolve that?
There's no way around it. I mean, that's the problem is that, so I'm supposed to create 6 feet separation between kids.
It is 6, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, that is the current guidance. Now, there are places where we know that's an impossibility. So you're trying to do the best you can. But then the HVAC systems. And the average age of buildings in West Hartford are over 50 years old for our schools. There are people now, and I say this, I've proposed ventilation systems for the past 8 years in the budgets. We haven't had them approved yet by both the board and the town council. And people always jump on and say, it's air conditioning, it's air conditioning. Like, it's ventilation. Some of our buildings are older, not just than me, but than my dad, who passed away 8 years ago. I mean, this kind of,
Yeah. Kicking the
we
can.
we need to reinvest. And that's something that we have to learn out of this process, is that there are certain things that we can't just keep doing the way we did. But yeah, for budget reasons, you're looking at 900 plexiglass shields in front of teachers' desks, right? You're looking at thousands of masks for all of our kids, for our teaching staff, if necessary. I mean, even masks, like we have clear masks for kids, because we have kids that are hearing impaired or deaf or a teacher. And so the face needs to be seen. So we had to order 8,000 of those. I mean, that's just with masks. And then you look at all the cleaning supplies, you said, but it's not just cleaning supplies. The shifts and when we have workers and the intensity of that cleaning is different. Outdoor tables for both instruction and for trying to eat outside. And really, eating is one of those, the biggest questions that, frankly, nobody has an honest answer for. I mean, our 2 high schools reach 1,400 to 1,500 kids. You're cycling through, so a restaurant says 50% capacity inside, and I'm going to cycle through 1,400 people. It's a significant challenge to try to work through.
I can't even imagine what a what a huge challenge it is, and it's going to continue to be. And I love the fact that you guys are flexible about it. When this thing first popped up in February, March, and you guys went virtual, West Hartford received a ton of attention. I think globally, because you guys were so on top of it. Right? I mean, you guys were in the press all over.
Yeah.
It was super impressive. What did you do so well that impressed so many people around the world? I mean, literally, right around the world, people were calling you
Yeah,
for.
our plans were accessed in, I think, 40 different countries. And like getting hits like San Jose, California, we had 700 hits a day at one point on our learning plans. I'm like, who's using that? I think one of the things that happens is West Hartford's recognized in the area as a leader. In February, and this is just, I'm a history teacher by trade. I always say I'm on special assignment as a superintendent. And, you read, you travel, and once this got my attention, I said to my executive team 3 weeks before, I said, everything you're doing now is planning for something that probably won't happen. But what if we have to close schools for 2 weeks? What's the plan going to look like? I need you creating this and working on this. And then we did in conjunction. And then, the week of closure, the first couple days, closing sports events or our plays, our musical and our plays, the backlash was so extreme. And it's one of those times that's very difficult because people think you're overreacting. and you're making choices based on a certain set of assumptions. And then what I couldn't get an answer to in Connecticut, and this is emblematic of the whole country, because the official advice was you only close a school if you have a positive case in your community. But nobody could tell me what the numbers were. And everybody just kept saying, well, there's not a positive case. And I was on the phone screaming with people. And finally, I found out that in Connecticut, up to that point, over the previous 2 weeks, there had been 37 total tests. And so when I asked
37 tests.
37 total tests. And so when I asked two health professionals that I trust, and somebody at UConn Health Center, they said to me there is absolutely positive cases in West Hartford. And so I made the decision to close, knowing that there's a certain factor that West Hartford, because of its size, because of its reputation, when I make a decision, it forces some other people into things. But then because I just feel so passionately about doing things the right way, I know districts didn't have that lead time. So I said that all of our material would be open source. And so we ended up with other districts using our plans, our materials, just to get things going. I reached out to a couple of people and said, listen, this is a bear to get started. So use anything you need from us, because it's not the time to try to make profit or copyright or anything. It's a time for people to come together, which I hope people remember.
Yeah. So speaking of technology, I think didn't you folks provide
Yeah.
technology to all the students?
We had to bring, a lot of people have Chromebooks, computers in their home because we have varied levels of wealth in West Hartford. We have enough computers in our school. We don't have a one-to-one program where we give every child a computer, because I've always kind of felt like, why am I investing in computers to go to people that already have plenty of computers? But we have, we're 27% district-wide free and reduced lunch. That means a family of four making less than $30,000 a year. So during that first 3 days we were out, not only did we start providing lunches right away, but we provided 2,000 laptops, Chromebooks to kids that needed them so that they would be ready for our instruction.
So I know the food program, the free and reduced, I didn't realize how big. You said 27% of students?
27% of our students are on free and reduced lunch, yeah.
And they were able to come to school and pick up meals? Is that what they did?
We set up distribution points it started with at 7 of our schools, so that it was by neighborhoods, so that people that didn't have cars necessarily or anything could find a way to get there to pick up that food. And we did it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with meals enough on Fridays for the whole weekend, and basically giving 2 days worth of meals at every pickup time.
So one of the things that seems to drive education budgets and education decisions that I have seen is sports, is athletics, right? And I know you hear about it all the time. And West Hartford has a great sports program. Have superintendents like you, have you guys been working in conjunction with the CIAC, or are you kind of just two separate channels?
Do you want the truth, or do you want to see what the CIAC says?
Well, I think they came out after you made your decision, so I'm assuming it's two separates.
Oh, well, so the CIAC at the beginning, CIAC operates independently. Okay. But like last week on Friday, they released their plan for fall sports and said this is in consultation with the superintendents. The truth is I'd gotten that notification of what the plan was 8 hours earlier.
That was the consultation.
Yeah. So I'm not as positive about that as some people might be. Now, there are superintendents, there are on the board of controls, and there are people that donate their time and work for athletics. And I'm a former coach. I love sports, and I see the value in it for kids, just like arts. And it's one of the great crimes. I think of the seniors that lost their senior season last year. I think of people that are, in danger of losing their fall season now, and it's devastating.
Well, as you and I were saying before we hit the record button, I think so much of this is, is teaching people a huge lesson in resilience and flexibility. And we're talking about the power outages that we're dealing with right now, and people are angry at Eversource as if they should have expected windstorm to hit yesterday. What you guys are doing with limited resources and with a lot of different constituents is amazing. The parents, I'm sure, are challenged, but and their frustrations, I'm sure a lot of that is driven economically, right? As you pointed
Absolutely.
out, they need to they need to go to work, and it's hard to go to work or work from home if they're also trying to educate their kids. Has there been I know the answer to this question, but has there been kind of a consistent set of opinions that you've received from parents, or generally, what are parents telling you about returning to school?
No matter what I send, I get two sets of opinions that come in. Um, I sent an email, a communication to the community on Friday about the hybrid plan, and there was reaction. There was people, thank you, thank God, and there were others that were very upset with it. Whereas the week before, I was just getting communication about how can you possibly think of sending everybody back to school. And at some point, whatever the decisions are at different points, you just have to understand that a lot of people are going to be really upset. And the thing I try to remember is they're passionate about their children,
Yeah.
and they're passionate and afraid for their own experience. And I get that. What I don't like is the kind of internet sport of it. I feel like, I'm not the Red Sox. I'm not the Red Sox manager, but sometimes I feel like we've kind of slipped into that in society,
Yeah.
where we just kind of do this
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah. Second guessing as a sport, right?
Yeah. And it's unfortunate.
It is. And I think, not to get preachy, but I think if people can just face all of these challenges with a little bit of compassion and kindness, they could probably go a long way. Speaking of that, in spirit of full disclosure, my wife works in the West Hartford school system, and she loves it. She works over at Smith, and she loves it. This has been really very, very difficult on the teachers. How have you been trying to keep their spirits up, or what are you doing to try to check in with the teachers, the instructors, and how they're handling this?
That's a significant challenge in that, especially during the summer, in that they're not in the buildings, they're not there. And so you try to work through the union, because anything you do outside the union, then there's ramifications of that too. So I try to send messages to staff. Anytime I'm sending communication out, I like the staff to know about it. If I can, give them a heads up. The truth is, once I know, when you have 1,500 staff, if you send that message out, you have to understand you've sent it out to everybody at that point, just because it spreads quickly. I try to be thankful to our staff, and I try to be understanding. This is a difficult time. Some of the people that are most strident about how dare they towards a teacher deciding not to come back, I don't know if they'd be as quick to volunteer to be in a class with 23 9-year-olds right now. So it's.
Has there been much of that, Tom? Has there been much teachers deciding not to return or speeding up their retirement?
We're at 70 plus right now of people that will say they can't come back if we need to come back.
Wow.
And they
70 teachers, instructors?
70 teachers. It's actually more than that. It's probably at 75 now. Every day it grows.
Wow. Well, that I just think about the different constituencies. I didn't even think about the unions, but you've got the students, you've got the parents, of course, you've got the employees, you have the union, and then you have the information come from the state. And then, by the way, there is this thing called science, and you're trying to manage that. I don't want to take any more of your time, honestly, because I know how ridiculously busy you are and how you've been trying to find some internet connections here today. But trying to manage all those constituencies and doing as great a job as you have. I don't live in West Hartford, but I want to say thanks, because I think you've been a great kind of an example of how leadership behaves in this sort of an environment. I appreciate and applaud your flexibility. So
that's really nice of you to say. That's much appreciated. We're doing what we can.
You're up against it, and I think you're doing a great job. So hang in there. All right.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you so much, Tom. We'll talk to you.
Good seeing you.